Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a Fox News report that suggests a huge shift is underway in the Middle East conflict. We're talking about a new, highly coordinated strike strategy that's reportedly unfolding between Hezbollah and Iran.
Okay, to really get a sense of what's happening, let's start with this quote from the source article. It comes from Kobe Michael, a senior researcher at the Institute for National Security Studies. And get this, he was reportedly speaking from a bomb shelter near Tel Aviv. So his words really signal a dramatic turn in this conflict.
So, what is this shift we're talking about? Well, the source material is pretty clear. This isn't just another series of attacks. We're looking at a new, synchronized phase of the conflict. And that marks a really big change in tactics.
And to give you some context here, the article places all of this on day 11 of a joint U.S.-Israeli campaign that was targeting Iran, a campaign known as Operations Epic Fury and Roaring Lion. So this tells us we're not at the beginning of something new, but at a point of major escalation within an operation that's already happening.
So what does this new strategy actually look like? Well, according to the expert Kobe Michael, the keyword here is synchronization. We're not talking about isolated attacks anymore. Instead, Hezbollah's rockets and drones are reportedly being launched at the exact same time as Iranian missiles. And that points to a level of tactical coordination that is totally new for this conflict.
But it's not just about the coordination. The report also flags something else, something really dangerous, the type of weapon being used.
So first, what are these things? The article basically describes them as warheads that, pop open in the air, scattering dozens of smaller explosives, or bomblets, over a really wide area.
And the scale here is just staggering. The article cites an anonymous Israeli military official claiming that at the time of the report, this number, 50%, was the proportion of Iranian projectiles that were cluster bombs. I mean, think about that. Half of them. 1 out of every 2.
Okay, so why is this such a big deal? The report really breaks it down into 2 key problems. First, these things are banned by over 120 countries for a very good reason. Their wide, indiscriminate spread is known to cause catastrophic harm to civilians. And second, from a purely military perspective, the sheer number of tiny bombs they release makes them incredibly hard for even the best air defense systems to stop. Okay, so the escalation isn't just happening in the air. The report also points to a pretty big shift in ground strategy, and it cites sources who are supposedly familiar with Hezbollah military activities.
So what are these sources saying? That Hezbollah is going back to its roots, back to guerrilla warfare. And they're apparently doing this because they expect a full-on Israeli land invasion and are digging in for a long fight.
And the article gets really specific about what this looks like on the ground. We're talking small, quick units that are hard to detect, they're going dark, ditching radios and other devices that could be monitored, and they're playing the long game, saving their most powerful anti-tank weapons for what they think is going to be a very long conflict. And finally, there's this key troop movement. Hezbollah's elite fighters, the Radwan forces, have apparently moved to an area near this town called Qiyam. And why there? Because that's exactly where they believe an Israeli ground invasion is most likely to kick off. It's a pretty clear signal that they're getting ready for a direct fight.
So, with this whole new coordinated strategy in the air and on the ground, how is Israel responding? And what do the experts cited in the article think is coming next?
Well, Kobe Michael really paints a picture of the human cost here. He claims that civilians are being targeted on purpose, which is forcing people into bomb shelters for long stretches of time, all the way from the northern border down to Tel Aviv. So the source material lays out these 2 really different targeting strategies. On the one hand, you have the expert claiming Hezbollah and Iran are deliberately hitting civilian areas. But on the other hand, the article reports that the IDF launched strikes against Hezbollah infrastructure, and it makes the point to say this was after they had warned civilians to get out of the area.
And to be more specific, the article says that as of Tuesday night local time, the IDF had already started these retaliatory strikes. They were hitting a key Hezbollah stronghold in Beirut's southern suburbs, an area called the Dahiyah.
So looking ahead, what's the end game? Well, the expert, Kobe Michael, has a prediction. He thinks it's very likely that Israel will move to take control of a huge chunk of South Lebanon, all the way to the Litani River, with one big goal: to create a security buffer zone to protect its northern towns. All right, let's just pull back for a second. When you put all these pieces together, what does it tell us about where this whole conflict is headed?
I mean, this timeline really drives home just how fast things are escalating. According to the report,
In just 11 days, we went from the start of a campaign to this whole new coordinated strategy involving these really controversial weapons. And all of this is happening while the threat of a major ground invasion is just hanging in the air. And the expert Kobe Michael wraps up with this really stark warning, right? He uses this metaphor of a wounded lion. From his perspective, the point seems to be that whatever happens, the resolution has to be decisive. He's cautioning against any outcome that would just let an adversary recover, rearm, and come back for round two.
And that really leaves us with a big question at the heart of this report. As the tactics get more coordinated and the weapons get more destructive, the whole nature of this conflict seems to be changing in real time. So the question isn't just what's next, but what are the unforeseen consequences? What kind of ripples could this send across the entire region?